Sirius Real Estate has achieved an 8.2% increase in overall rent roll for the year ended March. That's as management improved both rates and occupancy across the portfolio in spite of the wider macroeconomic conditions. Given this, the firm says it expects to deliver annual results that are in line with market expectations. Sirius will open its books on the 3rd of June. Barloworld has advised shareholders it has entered into discussions which, if concluded successfully, may have a material effect on the price of its shares. Given this, the industrial group has advised investors to exercise caution when dealing in the firm's securities until a full announcement is made. No further details were provided. Vest has delivered an improved half-year performance. The firm, which manufactures food sauces and condiments, has posted a near 2% rise in revenue due to price increases. Profit before tax, meanwhile, jumped close to 29%, supported by a reduction in operating expenses. Vest has added that despite installing generators at its factory, service levels, which are at 82.7%, are still below the industry level, and this has amplified the need for increased working capital. More than 1 trillion rand has been withdrawn from SA Inc. in the past decade, and Old Mutual Chair Trevor Manuel says this points to an uncertain regulatory environment and lax implementation. Writing in the Financial Services Group's annual report, the former finance minister said authorities needed to put in place clear regulations and long-term regulatory certainty to attract and retain investment. The asbestos corruption trial involving former ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule has been postponed to June. The 255 million rand trial was set to begin at the Bloemfontein High Court today, but the matter was postponed as per the defence's request and for pre-trial conference. Magashule is accused of involvement in a corruption tender scheme that allegedly saw high-ranking Free State government officials receive kickbacks from money meant to fund the removal of harmful asbestos from the homes of the province's poorest residents. In international developments, the first leg of a 3-day visit to China by German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has taken place. Scholz's visit comes amid growing tensions between Europe and Beijing over claims of unfair competition. Here's our reporter Natin Devu with more.
Well, that's right, Zinati. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is in China right now and is accompanied by business delegates for discussions that will hopefully show up economic relations between the countries. Now, the talks have, of course, been prompted by EU's mounting concerns over unfair competition. And right now we have Lars Halter from Deutsche Welle, who joins us from Berlin. Lars, what are the latest on the Chancellor's visit?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Well, he landed yesterday, Sunday, and it's a 3-day visit. That is the longest state visit Scholz has ever had in any country, and that alone should tell you how important this is. China, the economy on both sides, and the future of business relations. Also quite impressive, Scholz's delegation. He took along representatives from Volkswagen, Mercedes, BMW, BASF, Siemens. It's a veritable who is who of German business, and that is not even surprising, to be honest. Germany's trade with China clocks in at around €250 billion per year, and that makes China by far Germany's most important trading partner. And while everyone has been talking about decoupling from China, or as they most recently called it, de-risking, it's not really what we see happening. In 2023, German direct investment in China reached yet another all-time high, but that, of course, brings a huge dependency on China, and that is what Germany and some other countries do not want any longer.
Well, Lars, with China being Germany's most important trading partner, yet with growing calls to reduce dependency on the country, what do you think will likely be discussed with the Chinese leadership?
Well, let's take Scholz's guest list as a hint. As I said, it includes representatives from Volkswagen, Mercedes and BMW, the three largest German automakers. And so there you go. China, of course, has invested heavily in e-mobility, and BYD has taken over the global market for electric vehicles. That company's cars are built very well, but they're mostly selling because they're cheap. And why? Because of generous subsidies out of Beijing. And that is a key point here for Scholz. Just this morning, he told students at Tongji University that, quote, there will be Chinese cars in Germany and Europe. The only thing that must always be clear is that competition must be fair. He says there can be no dumping, no overproduction, that copyrights are not to be infringed, and so on. And that's not only the case for cars, by the way, but also for solar panels, wind turbines or steel and many other fields where China has recently taken over the years. On Tuesday, Olaf Scholz will raise these issues with President Xi. He wants subsidies scaled back. There has to be some sort of a level playing field between the trading partners, he says. Otherwise, Western economies won't be able to compete against Chinese firms, and that will definitely cause problems in trade relations in the future, and at the very least bring upon punitive tariffs and potentially a trade war.
Well, we of course know that Germany is not the only country trying to figure out their relationship with China, their laws. We saw this with the United States' Yellen, who recently visited China again as well. So how are others dealing?
Yeah, of course, many others are dealing with the exact same problem, including the United States. And their Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, was in Beijing just last week. And what she said sounded very much like what I assume Olaf Scholz will say in tomorrow's meeting as well. Yellen complained about China flooding global markets with so much subsidized product that those other markets can't absorb it anymore. She complained about price pressure due to Beijing's subsidies, and she demanded the system to be changed, pretty much what we just also explained about Olaf Scholz's demands there. But on the last day of her trip, Yellen did actually sound more appreciative of the great economic relationship between her country and China. And I found it very hard to assess whether her talk in Beijing would lead to any change whatsoever.
We'll certainly be watching those developments quite closely. Let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much for your time. That was Lars Halter from Deutsche Welle.